So the other day I went to student loan to make some queries because after I called them and got a copy of my statement, I was confused. Couldn't understand why my loan balance was still so high, why it is that I was putting in so much effort and sacrifice to make these extra payments, paying at Paymaster, and yet still my loan balance didn't seem to be going down. I wasn't seeing the extra payments being reflected. And suddenly there's this prepayment balance thing on my account, and who knows what that means. So I went there and I got some clarification, and I realized there's a bunch of things I didn't know about how this works, especially how it works when you pay outside of student loan. Talked to some friends and I realized most of us never have a clue either. Tried to make a document to explain it, but it was a lot of text for people to read and it can get like a technical. So here we are with a video. We're going to try and explain a little better so we can all share in the understanding. So first things first, let's get some background. Student loan, love it or hate it, many of us could not go to school without it, and it has some of the lowest interest rates you can find otherwise. All right, so it's the best option for a lot of us who don't get scholarships. The problem is that many of us don't realize that the interest rate with student loan works on compound interest. So at some point we'll realize that yes, the interest rate is 9.5% per year, and they give you a minimum payment that includes paying some of the interest, paying a little bit towards the principal, and some insurance, right? Don't always realize that this is compounded interest. So that interest rate is compounded monthly. I could explain this. You might want to skip over this part if you understand it already. I'll try a very basic example. So let's say that you owe $1 million, right? And your interest rate, as a very easy number, is 12% for the year. Now it's compounded monthly. That means every month you get the monthly equivalent to the interest rate. That's like 1%. So 12% for the year, 1% every month. So on the first month, you get charged 1% interest. 1% of your million is $10,000. So you get charged $10,000 as interest. Now that interest is added to your principal. So on the next month, when you're going to get charged 1% interest again, you're getting charged 1% off the 1 million plus the 10,000 from last month. That new interest is added to your principal, and again next month, rinse and repeat. So that's compound interest. Cool. We get that and we say, okay, based on that, I want to repay my loan really quickly, right? So that's what many of us want to do. And I realize that by repaying the loan quickly, repaying more than the minimum amount, you can save yourself some interest payments. And I did a little quick math here to show you how much interest you could be saving per year and how you continue to save after you've made those payments. Another slight thing that some people don't realize is that during the period while you're in school, I think that's called the moratorium period, I could be wrong, don't quote me, you're also gaining interest on your loan. Now, in the documents we signed, it stated that the interest rate would be 7.8% per year, and that is also compound interest. So here's an example with my statement where I was borrowing not the full 1 million that student loan will lend you, but a smaller amount. And while I was in school, that first 600 and odd that I borrowed, it gained interest in year 1, it gained interest in year 2, it gained some more interest in year 3, and they show you how much interest each individual loan that I took out gained throughout the whole period. Over 5 years, I gained about 1.2 million in interest. This is a good amount of money, right? Borrowed just over 3 million, ended up owing about 4.4 million at the end of school. Lots of people don't realize this either. And you actually can start to repay from before you graduate if you have some extra money. Fine, cool. So we say we want to repay. We're paying somewhere else because it's not always so convenient to go to student loan. You're making your extra payment. If you did owe 30 grand, you're trying to pay 60, 70, 80, if you can. Something strange is happening. If you call student loan and get a copy of your statement, because most of us now going to know that you can do that as well, and you're not able to view your statements online right now, you might realize something funny seems to be happening. In my case, I realized, boy, the money not going where the money is supposed to go. So, what causes the problem? How do we fix it? The simple solution to fixing it is, if you're going to pay extra, you go to student loan in person, go to the cashier, tell them that you want to pay this additional amount towards your principal. So you can pay a minimum amount and the additional amount, specify that it must go towards your principal. Boom, it works. Problem solved. Everybody can go home. Video done. If only. some other people would want to know, how exactly does this work? I really saw it go. Why does it matter? I'm in Westmoreland. Why am I supposed to go down to student loan in person? That's out of my way. Am I really saving money? How much money am I saving? Is it worth a trip? Things like that. Side note, you don't have to go. Somebody can go on your behalf. They just need the TRN and they can pay for you, right? To explain exactly how it works for those who want to know, it took a couple times for the rep to explain it to me, and she had to use some examples. Now I finally get it, so I'm going to use some examples too to help you get it. So let's say you're like me and you're paying your extra money at Paymaster. So your minimum payment is like 50k per month, like mine, and all the very ambitious people who decided to, go into those very ambitious fields. I'm sorry. This is our reward. So let's assume it's due on the 30th of each month for convenience. I think it's usually due on a particular date, but don't worry about that for right now. As a side note, as we said before, your interest payment, at least mine, makes up about 70% of my minimum payment. Just under 25% actually goes towards reducing my principal amount when I'm making the minimum payments. So cool. First scenario, you say you want to pay some extra, you owe 50 a month, that's your minimum, and you say you want to pay 90. So you go to Bill Express, you pay $90,000. Out of that 90, 50 will go towards the minimum payment, 40 will reduce your principal. Cool. So that $40,000 reduces your principal by 40k, and that's actually a really good investment if you like to think about paying down debt as an investment, because you would have gotten $316 in interest that month if you had not paid that $40,000. That's how much interest you would have gained on that 40k. And in the next month, you'd have gained a next set of interest on that 40k. And in the next month, a next set of interest. And you'd have been getting interest on the interest. Yeah, so you'd have been paying interest on top of the interest that you're paying for each month that you had not paid that extra 40k. So you're saving yourself a good amount of money. In this scenario, it works out to about $3,969 for 1 year. And it continues for each following year. Now that you've paid this extra amount, you're no longer gaining interest on top of interest. Compound interest is beautiful when it works in your favor. Fine, you can use a compound interest calculator to verify the figures. So cool, that works. So if that works, what's the problem? The problem is we have too much ambition, because some of us want to pay more than just 90k. We want to pay even more. So let's say, before we get there, scenario 2, you pay your 90k late. Your due date is the 30th. You pay on the 2nd of the next month. You never remember to pay student loan. Fine, what happens? Your 50k will go towards paying the minimum payment, but the extra 40 is not going to reduce your principal. This time, it's going to go into a prepayment balance. Because guess what? Student loan realize they are missing payments, and they say that the way their system is designed, so it's not a manual thing, it's automatic. That extra 40k will now go into your prepayment balance. So if you forget the payment next month, it will help to cover some of that, right? Because student loan is afraid of people running away, not paying their money. So everything is designed to try to keep your account from going into arrears as much as possible. That's what they say. So your principal doesn't go down by 40k. In my case, it might go down by like 12k. And that 40k now gets stored in this prepayment balance, kind of like when you pay a bill in advance. So you pay your light bill in advance or your water bill in advance. That's what happens. Next month bill is paid in advance. If you paid more than what would be the minimum amount for the next month, you can actually push back your due date, because like you cover the next month. So let's look at that scenario. So scenario number 3, you want to pay even more money, you pay 110k. So you pay enough for this month and enough for next month, and you have some change left over. You're not thinking about this, you're thinking, well, 50k is going to go towards my minimum and 60 will reduce my principal, and I'm going to save so much money. That's not what happens. The 60k will not go towards your principal, because you have enough money in that extra payment that you're paying at your paymaster to cover another month, and student loan wants to prevent arrears as much as possible. The system just takes another 50k out of it, another month's payment, puts it down in the prepayment balance, and then it looks at how much is left. 10 grand is left. It's not enough to prepay for another month, so it says, all right, this can reduce the principal. We have to do something with it. So out of your 110k, only 10k will go towards reducing the principal. Now, already you probably don't want to hear nothing else. You just want to know, how do I avoid this? We told you already. Go to student loan in person and pay at the cashier. Or, which I'll speak about near the end, you could choose to pay less than 2 times the amount, not pay in a multiple of your statement, right? So you're not covering 2 months in a multiple of your minimum amount, 2 months at once with one payment. You could do that, I suppose, if you have enough money, which I'm going to talk about later, you could try making multiple smaller payments. Make sure you pay before your due date. You could do that. I suppose that works for those who simply cannot make it to Kingston and don't have anybody who can go there on their behalf. That could work. All right. In my case, what prompted my alarm is I only saw $683 going towards reducing my principal. And I was like, no, man, look how much money may I pay. What is this? Yeah. That's when I decided to go check it out. So, to emphasize the problem, let's use a fourth scenario to show that they take multiples of monthly payments. So let's say you get a lump sum, Zine, you have enough money, you get 350 grand or 400 grand. And you're gonna pay every last dollar in your account, including the extra 1 grand with the left hand account. So you're paying 401,000. Again, your minimum payment gets taken out, and you think, nice, 351k is gonna reduce my principal. I'm gonna save so much money. Just you're smacking your lips thinking about how much interest you're saving. That 350k does not go towards reducing your principal because you never paid that student loan in person. That 350k is gonna remain in your prepayment balance. It's gonna cover, in your case where you owe 50 a month, it's gonna cover another 7 months worth of payments. And then what's left after that, $1,000, that will reduce your principal. So if you were checking your statements, you look at that and you might be alarmed. They might make some phone calls, somebody might explain to you and say, oh, so it go. That's what happened in my case, a long time later after a lot of monthly payments. Now, I don't know the details of this with student loan. This is what people tell me. But I've had more than one person tell me that they had actually finished paying their loan, but it was not shown that they were finished paying as yet, possibly because of the same prepayment thing, and they had to go there in person, ask their loan officers to move the money move it from one section, the prepayment balance, towards the principal, so that it could accurately reflect that the loan done and they're not supposed to be earning any more interest. This was a thing in the past. Currently, student loan is undergoing some system upgrades, so that now work right now. Loan officers are not able to do that for you anymore. Only the cashier can put it towards your principal at the time when you're paying. System is expected to finish being upgraded in June, end of June 2025. Here's to hoping those who are watching this later on actually benefit from it. Right now, we're not able to do that. And again, here is a snippet of one of my statements where the prepayment balance, 750,000. Many months of trying to pay extra, and it just went into the prepayment balance. All right. So, how do we get around this? I told you already. Suppose I can't reach a student loan, I have nobody in Kingston who can pay for me. You could try doing the multiple payments thing, and you just try make it not go past 2 times the amount. Cool. Now, some other persons done the video by now. Some people might be left and asking, does it really matter though? Because I was wondering, does it really matter? I heard people saying you must get paid on the principal. Does it matter? I never knew about this prepayment thing before. Like, how much is it really saving me? Is it a big deal? Is it worth the time and effort, possibly the time off work and the mental load to sort it out? Well, if you like your money, then yes. If you don't like your money, send it to me. I can give him my banking info. Just send it to me. I'll take care of it for you. But anyway, really and truly, it does depend on how much you're able to pay additionally. If it's only 5 grand you can pay extra, and boy, the trip to Kingston I'm gonna take you 2 grand, kind of sound rough. Kingston and back, if it costs you 2 grand, it kind of sounds sticky. Not to mention time. But if you are able to save more and pay more extra, then it might really be worth your while. So let's look through the math. So every $50,000 extra that you pay, regardless of how much your principal is, that is $50,000 that you're not paying the 9.5% interest per month on. So every month you're saving the about $395 on that. And when you save it the first month, you're not getting compound interest on the interest the next month, and the month after that, and the month after that, and it continues. So in the course of 1 year, you actually save $4,962 from making a one-time payment of $50,000. You pay $50K extra one time, it goes directly towards your principal once you do it the right way, and suddenly you save $4,962. Now, initially when I was doing the maths, I thought it was $4,740. I was just like, okay, cool. You save $395 every month, multiply that by 12 months, $4,740. But when I wanted to make a table out of this and I was asking AI, big up DeepSeek, it revealed that I was neglecting the compound interest part of it. So you can't just multiply by 12. You have to use the compound interest formula, because you also have to account for the interest gaining interest, the interest on top of interest, that's the compound interest part. So that's why there's a discrepancy there if you try to do the maths in your head. Now, I asked it to make me a table. I hope the numbers are accurate. They look kind of alright still, but I'm not claiming full accuracy for the numbers. And it should save you approximately $27,000 in 1 year if you decide that you're going to pay an extra $50K every month. Now, I think that's a pretty sweet investment, yeah? You pay $600,000 extra over the course of a year, you get back $27,000. I feel like Barita not matching that interest rate right now. They're good for other things though. And this is another point that I make later down, which is to say, for most of us, repaying our student loans faster is the best investment we can make right now. It feels different because you're not getting back the principal in your hand. When you pay the $50K, you're not getting back the $50K in your hand with interest. It's going towards paying down a loan. You're also not getting the interest in your hand. But if you're able to calculate the interest and see how much you save, you could, for example, send that money to another bank account every month so that you have a visual of it and you say, okay, this year I saved 30 grand by making extra payments. This is extra money that I would have spent in interest. And I think that's pretty cool. Another way to help yourself feel more motivated to do this is use one of those loan repayment calculators. You have to kind of estimate some things and it might be oversimplified. Put in your minimum payment, how much you owe, the interest rate, put that it's compounded monthly, and see how long it would take you to repay. I've seen some things are 10, 15 years for the loans to be repaid, right? But say for argument's sake, it was going to take you 8 years. If you now choose an extra amount to pay per month and it saves you 2 years off of payments, then that means that's 2 years of minimum payments that you would have saved. So again, for argument's sake, let's say that your minimum payment was $50,000 a month. Instead of paying $50,000 a month for that additional 2 years, you save that. That's now money in your pocket. 50 times 12 are 600. 600 times 2 are 1.2 mil. Yeah. So you would have actually saved $1.2 million solely in additional interest payments if you're able to cut down your loan repayment time by 2 years using the assumptions that we made before. Again, it's a little oversimplified, but it's a good idea to motivate yourself and to make yourself realize why this is important, why this matters. Yeah. Unless you have some other investment that you're investing in, some small business that's turning over some 100% returns, some 50% returns, you're probably better off paying off your student loans as quickly as you can. And you should pay back your loans. It's not a good thing to borrow money and not pay back. You know, the Bible talks about that. And also, you want other people to be able to benefit from getting student loans in the future. Yeah? So, pay back the money we borrow from the people. If it was credit card, they would have charged you some 50% interest. Car loan, they might charge you some 15-16% interest, right? They pay the people then. Anyway, so that's the end of this. Please pay down your debts. Please don't allow your debts to skyrocket out of control, especially your debts that have compound interest like credit card debt. Here is the table that I asked DeepSeek to generate for me, showing how much you would save. I had to ask it to do it a couple times until it finally clicked in my brain. I was like, wow, this is how it works. Amazing. So I used my same loan information. This is the estimate of how much my interest rate would have been. I grabbed a random month and started working from there. Then if I paid an extra $50,000 a month, this shows for each month how the interest that I would be charged would change all the way from $35,105 down to $29,000. And you see that right here at the last part, there's a difference of $4,000 per month in interest that I'm being charged. So that's money that I'm saving right there. Now, each month the compounding is working. As we say, so in the first month I paid $50K. I saved $395 in interest. In the second month, I pay another $50K. I'm saving the $395 from before. I'm saving another $395 this month. And I'm saving interest on the first $395. The same thing continues into the fourth month, the fifth month, all the way down. So that by the time I reach the 12th month, I'm saving $4,640. Yeah. Now, cumulatively, you have to add up all of those savings. So by the 12th month, this is a every month thing, or at least at this month, I'm getting that extra amount per month. Now, just like the time when such person came on, such person's talk show and talked about a pro box and how much money you could save from a tax break, a lot of persons neglected to mention the fact that the money is cumulative. So the money you save in the first year is saved and put down. Then you have the money that you're saving in the second year plus the money that you were saving in the first year, and the same thing again for the third year. That's all we're gonna say about that before the people them drag me. Yeah. So similarly here with the cumulative savings, you have to take into account the money you saved in month 1, plus the money you saved in month 2, plus the money you saved in month 3, and you come all the way down. And based on the maths, tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, you're saving some $27,000 for that first year. You're repaying $50,000 a month. If you're repaying less, you save a little less. If you can repay even more directly on your principal, you're saving even more. Now, what about those of us who actually are stuck with a big prepayment balance? We can't move it right now. What's going to happen? When student loan finally gets their act together and sorts out their issues, we should be able to go there, ask for that amount to be placed directly on our principal, and then what they're going to have to do is regenerate our entire statement. So the statement will have to be generated from scratch, and they're going to have to remove all the payments and then reapply them as how they should have been if the money was going towards the principal initially. So they have to change the interest charges. It's a good bit of math and reworking things. I think it's supposed to take that long still, but it may not take long for some persons who were doing it for like when they took scholarships and the scholarships send back some of the money, or them send back some of the money to student loan. Yeah, them take long with that part there, but they're working on it. So you should be able to get a new statement, reduce the interest that you're paying per month, pay back your loan faster once you're able to shift anything that's in that prepayment balance and bring it towards your principal. I think those are all the questions I anticipated, plus the things that people were asking me. If you have any more questions, ask student loan. Don't ask me. I'm not an officer. This is just what I learned from talking to them in person. And I hope we will all make some great financial decisions. All right, that's the end of this video.